Now, as was just observed by the great Andrew Bolt, the Greens, of course, the most extreme political party inside our parliament, whose, sadly, influence grows by the day. The nutty stuff that they said 10 years ago is now mainstream policy, thanks to extreme interpretations of world threats like the ones you just saw the little girl getting excited about on Q&A. And remember, before the election, Greens were telling us that they would govern alongside Labor. It would be a form of a coalition, a power-sharing arrangement. But then Anthony Albanese was able to win a two-seat majority, was able to get to 77 seats. So therefore, the Greens didn't matter at all, right? Only problem. The Greens got their wish, and the Greens are in charge of how the country works, because without them, they can't pass anything through the Senate. Now, remember, you need 39 votes to get anything done in that new Senate. And when you have a look at the makeup of the Senate, Labor, to get anything done, to get to 39, needs all of its people plus all of the Greens plus Pocock. That gets them to 39. They go a little further if it's the Greens and Lambie, and if it's all of them together, they get to a massive 41 votes above the 39 threshold. So the reality is that nothing can happen in the country unless the Greens want it to happen, which is why the Greens have decided to sidle up to Labor as Labor joins them in passing laws to hit 43% emissions reduction targets for Australia. And to give you an idea about the co-arrangement, it may well not be signed like it was in 2010, but it absolutely exists. Labor, on the very same day, decided to ban a brand new coal mine because apparently it would affect the Great Barrier Reef, despite the fact that the Great Barrier Reef is, as you know, growing at the best rate it has in more than 30 years. But another example about how the Greens really are the ones in the driver's seat here, when Adam Bandt was at the National Press Club last week, he was using a word over and over again when it comes to potential military conflicts in China. That word is very popular in lefty land. You see, they don't have a defence minister. Instead, they have a spokesperson for de-escalation.
What concerns us is that we don't see a plan on the table for de-escalation of tension. We only see a plan on the table for escalation of tensions. And what we will do is push for a de-escalation, knowing how much Australia has got to lose. That has to be the priority.
And magically, guess what the key word being used by Penny Wong is right now about China?
Australia is not the only country that is concerned about escalation. The region is concerned about escalation. The region is concerned about the risk of conflict. We will continue to, in a calm and considered way, articulate our national interests. And what I would say is our interests are the interests of the region, and that is restraint and de-escalation.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. We start by using their words, and then we start using their ideas, and then we start putting their ideas into law. Nothing to see here, though. Of course, it's not at all a co-power sharing government. This is at the same time as you know, China is bulking up. China has got us closer to war than we have of recent times because, God forbid, an American politician decided that they would go to Taiwan. Put simply, this is like freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. China says they own it. The rest of the world says, no, you don't, so we'll keep sending our ships through. Australians and Americans have every right to go to Taiwan. It is a separate country, but China says that's not the case. And while the makers of Snickers bars may apologise for calling Taiwan a separate country, anyone who cares about the freedom of the West will keep treating it as a separate country, and anyone with balls will actually go there. There's a good chance Andrew Hastie, as the Shadow Defence Minister here in Australia, may well be able to go there sooner rather than later. And of course, not just over the weekend, but it will apparently continue into this week, is that China will continue its war gaming to show how many missiles, how many tanks, how many planes, what it can fly, what it can shoot, what it can aim at, to remind the world that if you choose to treat Taiwan as a separate country, they will use their military to take it back. Now, you know all of these issues. But interestingly, de-escalation is a selective policy of the Albanese government. Remember, of course, when it comes to the situation happening in the Ukraine, we had to spend $100 million of Australian taxpayers so Anthony Albanese could have a selfie with the Ukrainian president. We are continuing to arm the fight between Ukraine and Russia. There is no conversation about de-escalation there. Instead, we are sending them more weapons to keep the fight going. So which is it? You want to de-escalate with China, but you want to continue the escalation when it comes to Russia? We'll just have to wait and see what the Greens think, and then we'll learn what the government's position will be, because it's definitely not a coalition government. Rubbish.